Hey everyone, Shakib here, and I'm a member of the Method NA and Plus team, here to give you a guide on Vengeance Demon Hunter specifically for Mythic Plus. In this video, we'll be going over talent choices, Heart of Azeroth, traits, stat priority, gear, and much more. Before we jump into the start of the video, I just want to let you know that some of the things I'll talk about will be linked from Wowhead in the video description below. And a reminder to like the video if you enjoyed the guide, dislike if you didn't but leave a comment for feedback, and of course subscribe to know when we upload. Let's get right into it. In this section, we'll be going over the optimal talents for DH and Mythic Plus, why I chose them, and when I may change them depending on the dungeon situation and why. For DHs, a lot of the talents are straightforward. There's not many talents that I'll swap out. It's usually going to be a pretty generic build. So here we go. In the 99 row, we've got the Abyssal Strike talent. This one will increase your mobility and decrease the cooldown on Abyssal Strike, which will increase your damage on top of the mobility because of its interaction with Flame Crash, giving you more damage from the Infernal Strike plus a Sigil of Flame that spawns from it. This one is very, very good for this route. I would not really go with any of these. Razor Spikes could be nice for the slow, but a lot of classes will bring a 20-30% slow, so your Razor Spikes won't really be doing much at that point. Plus mobs would have to be in melee to get slowed. For the level 100 row, Feast of Souls isn't really an option. It gives you a little more healing, but the difference between these two talents is pretty big. You've got Burning Alive, which can be nice on 3 to 4 target packs, even 2, but doesn't really do much on single target or in big packs. I would always go with Fallout. This one will give you probably the most value. It's good on single target, it's good on a 3-4 target pack, it's good on a 10 target pack, a 20 target pack. This talent scales with the pack size. I would always go with this. It gives you more souls, works well with Spirit Bomb. Very nice talent pick here. The 102 row, as mentioned earlier, you've got the Flame Crash, which has a really nice interaction with Abyssal Strike. I would always go with this one. Shard Flesh, this is basically one of our Legion traits. I wouldn't go with this. I would save, most of the time you want to save your Fireband as a defensive now. Not really worth using on AoE. You'd lose a lot of damage on AoE also if you pick this in Mythic Plus, so I wouldn't really go with this. Level 104 row, we've got the Soul Rending, the Feed the Demon, and Fracture. Soul Rending, not really a talent I would go for. It would be between the Fracture and the Feed the Demon. Feed the Demon, I see it more, it gives you more active mitigation uptime, which Vengeance lacks of at the moment. I wouldn't pick this in Mythic Plus. It does give you more uptime, but the amount of Fracture just feels a lot better at the moment. You don't really need the problem is with this, with Feed the Demon, you get more active mitigation on a boss, especially in raid where you can't really kite around, you can't really do much, you gotta stay in your position. While in a dungeon, you can use your mobility, you can use your Infernal Strike, your double jump glide, you can run away from the mobs, use a speed potion in order to kite to fill in the gaps of your mitigation. So I would always go with Fracture. It will let you generate souls a lot faster than you would with Shear. You don't really want to go into a pack and use like 4 or 5 Shears in order to cast one Spirit Bomb. You want to go in there, try to get your Spirit Bomb out as fast as possible. Fracture's the best pick in this row, in my opinion. The 106 row, you've got Sigil of Chains, Quickened Sigils, Concentrated Sigils. I would always go with the Sigil of Chains. This one, Sigil of Chains, not only will let you group up the mobs if you need to, very quickly in a very tight pack, allowing everybody to like be ready, everybody to just do more damage. The mobs are way more controlled. You'll also get the movement speed slow, which if you don't already have a 70% slow in the group can be really nice, especially on Necrotic Week, for example. You can save your Sigil of Chains towards the end of a pack to slow the mobs, giving you a little bit of breathing room between you and the pack to get away, resetting your Necrotic pretty easily. You can also use Sigil of Chains to interrupt abilities that you normally would not be able to. So this talent definitely would always pick no matter what. I don't see any situation where this isn't better than these two in any dungeons. In this one we've got Gluttony, Spirit Bomb, Fell Devastation. Fell Devastation is the worst talent here. I would never pick this. We've got Gluttony. This is, as mentioned earlier, fills in the lack of mitigation uptime. Very nice talent. I still think Spirit Bomb is better. It gives you a lot more damage throughout the dungeon, on top of allowing you to get some more of a bursty healing. Instead of only being able to take in 2 souls at once from your soul cleave, you're able to take in 5 at once, which can basically give you your whole health bar back depending on the pack, and gives you 10% frailty buff, which is basically 10% leech from all the damage you do. So Spirit Bomb is the best pick for Mythic Plus. Last row, this one has some, this is probably the row where you can probably swap them out a little bit. Soulbearer can be nice on single target for some of the boss mechanics. I don't like this talent on any sort of AoE. I feel like you just press it and it's already gone by the time your GCD is over. Doesn't seem to be too great. I'd rather spend my souls on Spirit Bomb than Soul Barrier. Board Weaver is pretty nice for smoothing out the damage. The only problem is that you've got some packs which are going to be a lot more intense. You've got some smaller packs which you won't really be taking much damage from. You've got some bots which are going to hit you really hard. You've got bots which aren't really going to do much. So this is why I prefer Last Resort. It lets you do some bigger pulls. Sometimes stuff can go wrong. You'll take a little more damage. This will give you an extra life. And on top of giving you an extra life, giving you a full meta, you can also reset Last Resort by dying. So let's say it's a Sanguine week, you can go into Sanguine, die from the Sanguine, reset it. You've got another Last Resort for the only cost of 5 seconds to reset it. Very, very strong talent. So I would go with this one.
Right now for Vengeance Demon Hunters in Mythic Plus, you want to try to aim for the highest item level Azurite pieces that you have. So unless you've got several pieces lying around at the same item level, you'll probably be pretty stuck with some of your Azurite powers. You won't be able to choose that well. But if you do have the choice, I would aim for, in tier 1, I'd go for Rigid Carapace or Infernal Armor, both increasing your armor. Pretty strong traits at the moment defensively. If not, you've also got Cycle of Binding, which is very, very nice utility-wise in a lot of dungeons. It basically reduces the cooldown of your sigils by 2 seconds every time you use one. This trait is pretty amazing in a lot of high interrupts like Shrine or Underrot or Motherlode. You've also got Essence Sever, which can be used. I really like this one in M+. It can sometimes give you a boost, big burst healing, big burst damage, depending on the situation. You've also got tier 2 wise, defensively, we've got Azurite Veins, Crystalline Carapace, Winds of War. These 3 traits are pretty solid defensively. If you want to aim for more of a damage approach, if you're feeling pretty comfortable in the keys you're doing, you'll want to go with Heed My Call, Azurite Globules, or even Overwhelming Power is pretty good right now. Tier 3, we've got one of the best traits that we could have on a piece, Gem Hide. This actually has a huge uptime, about 85-90% uptime in dungeons. Very, very strong trait. There's also the trait Impassive Visage, which is probably the second best tier 3. This one was a trait I actually didn't think it was going to be that great, but it's been surprising me quite a bit in BFA. So I would aim for those 2 traits. If not, there's also Soulmonger or Resounding Barrier that are also okay in the tier 3.
Alright, we're gonna be going over my gear and the stat priority for Demon Hunters. Currently, the stat priority is Haste, Verse, Mastery, Crit in that order. There's also not any sort of soft caps or breakpoints, so you want to keep going for that same priority as long as you can. As we can see here, I'm trying to go for as much haste or verse as I can on my gear. Sometimes you'll have to go with pieces that don't really have the combination you want. They won't have the haste and verse combo, and that is mainly because you will be any pieces that is about 10 or higher item levels than your other piece will probably be better anyways, so you want to equip that. As for the Azurite traits, usually you'll want to go with anything that is higher, 15 or higher item level than your other piece. You'll probably want to equip it. There's not really any traits that is that OP or you'll want to drop item level for. Maybe Cycle of Binding in some dungeons. For example, I really like Cycle of Binding in Underrot, Shrine, Motherlode, where you need a lot of AoE. The silence is very powerful. If you want to, you could drop for that one, but that'd probably be the only one I would drop item level for in Mythic Plus. Trinket wise, I've been really loving the Plumage from King's Rest. A nice agility stat stick with and on use for verse every 2 minutes. For 20 seconds, gives you a good amount of verse, both offensively or defensively, depending on the situation. The other trinket I've been liking a lot lately is the Dice. This one will have, once again, the agility stat stick, which is very big in BFA, on top of giving you a random proc of Mastery, Haste, or Crit. Alright, so we're going to go over the Vengeance Demon Hunter single target priority rotation. So there's a couple of tricks I want to go over with the rotation here. You want to make sure you keep your Fracture and Infernal Strike under 2 stacks at all times, preferably. Unless you know you'll need your Infernal Strike for a certain mobility in a fight or something like that. So keep those on cooldown. Make sure you keep Immolation on cooldown as much as possible. You want to use your Soul Bomb at 4 or 5 souls. Don't overcap your souls, or you'll lose that on those. And then Soul Cleave is an ability that you'll only use right after a Spirit Bomb to dump your pain if you're over 30. And then your Throw Glaive is kind of just a filler if you got a dead zone in the rotation, which you will with Fracture. There's also a very weird interaction going on at the moment with your Sigil of Flames. Basically, if you stack 2 or 3 of them at the same time, you'll get more damage throughout the fight. So you want to try to stack those as much as possible, stack them in pair or stack them all 3 at once. Also, a nice thing about a rotation is that it's basically the same on single target and AoE. On AoE, the only thing that changes is that sometimes you won't want to use your Immolation Aura at 4, because you might get more than 1 soul from it. So you want to use your Spirit Bomb at 4, and then Immolation Aura, and then Fracture or Spirit Bomb, depending on the amount of souls you gain from it. So here we're good with the rotation. As you start, you want to go in, pop all 3 of your sigils right away, use your Fractures, get the Immolation on cooldown as soon as you can. The Spirit Bomb when you're close to 5. Start building your souls again. If you hit a dead zone, use your Throw Glaive. Make sure to stack your sigils if possible here. And you just keep on going with the same rotation, following the tips throughout the fight.
Here's a couple add-ons that I think could help you guys to clear some Mythic Plus dungeons. The first one being Method Dungeon Tools add-on. This add-on is pretty great. It lets you calculate the percentage before starting the dungeon. That way you're sure that you don't get to the last boss without enough count, or that you're halfway through the dungeon and you're already maxed out on count. You can basically just pick packs throughout the dungeon and make sure that you get everything set up before going. You can also see every infested for every single week. That way you never get surprised by one and cause a wipe by overpulling with an infested mob. Another add-on that I would recommend is the add-on called Angry Keystones. This add-on is basically a enhanced version of the default game UI for the Mythic Plus timer, giving you a little bit more info on it. It also has a Mythic Dungeon tab where you can see the future week's affixes in it. The final add-on would probably be Weak Auras. This add-on is basically just, you can do anything you want with it. There's also several Weak Auras out there where you can just track abilities, kind of like a DBM, but for anything. That about covers everything to do with Vengeance, Demon Hunters, and Mythic Plus. Again, this was Shakib on behalf of the Method NA team. If you've got questions, come stop by my stream. You can find all the links in the description below. Thanks for watching and have a great day, guys.